My name is Adam Roa. Just can I see a show of hands? How many of you have no freaking idea who I am? Yeah, oh, amazing. I love this. I love this. This is very cool. Well, thank you for showing up to see a stranger talk. I really appreciate that. Are you having a good medicine festival so far? So this talk is called The Artistic Entrepreneur, a creative path to a prosperous life. And I want to start off by telling you a story 3 times in 3 ways. And the first one is facts. I want to tell you the facts. So at the end of last year, I was going through a breakup, and I went out to basically an Airbnb near a mountain in Colorado, and I would snowboard during the days, and then I would process during the evenings. And one day, I went out to a restaurant, sat at the bar at the restaurant. An older woman and I got into a conversation. I told her how much I travel and how excited I am to eventually settle with a family and a partner. And she told me that I was running from something. And I got really triggered. And I went home and I journaled about it and meditated on it and felt as if I was running towards something, not from something. Facts. That's what happened. How many of you can relate? Okay, amazing. Now I want to tell you that story again, but I want to tell you from a space of feelings. I was in a relationship for over a year, and it was the first one that I'd been in that we were talking about having children and believing that that was the path forward. And that's one of my deepest desires in life. And when that relationship ended, I had a really difficult time. And I went into that space of feeling as if I was second guessing everything that happened, as if maybe it was my fault. Maybe I wasn't as good at relationships as I thought. Maybe I had fucked it all up. And it was so difficult for me to be in that space and be around other people. And so I disappeared into a small Airbnb, and this was in Colorado. And every morning I would wake up and I would feel that just immediate, I don't know, anxiety or sadness or whatever it was that day. And I would go snowboarding and try and move it through, but then I would come back to the empty Airbnb and cook myself a meal and cry, basically, and journal and cry some more. I wish I had known about a minty movement. Maybe I would have danced. And one night I was having such a dark moment that I just felt I couldn't be alone, and I needed to go out. And so I went out to a restaurant and I sat at the bar, and there was this older woman, and she just started asking me questions, and I shared with her that I'd been a nomad for 6 years, but I was looking forward to settling down and getting into a partnership and raising a family. And she told me that I was obviously running from something. And that really actually hurt a little bit, because I was in such a place of feeling like I was second guessing myself. And so I started second guessing all the things that I had been doing, and thought maybe I was running. And I have this practice that I do where whenever someone gives me a reflection that triggers me, I go and I meditate, journal about it as if it was true. So I write down, if I was running from something, what would I be running from? Just kind of as a practice. And in that practice, I began to move a lot of energy in my body, cry, release, and feel a renewed sense of I'm running towards something, not from something. Feelings. Same story, feelings. How many of you feel more connected to me from that second version than the first version? Okay. How many of you feel like you can relate to the feelings, at least, even if it's not the actual happenings? Okay, more than the first one. So I want to tell that story one more time. And we got facts, we have feelings, and this one's I call fuck it. You got facts, feelings, and fuck it. And my version of that is a poem called Running. Can everyone take a nice deep inhale? Exhale. Last night I went out to dinner by myself. Sat at the bar next to an older woman who, well, had no problem telling me how she felt. How she really felt. She started asking me questions about my life. She asked me where I lived. I said I travel full time. She asked me what I did. Well, I work remotely online. Well, are you married with kids? No, I haven't yet met my wife. Well, how long's it been like this? 6 years, a long time. Oh, now it makes sense, she said with a smile. What makes sense? Oh, it's just interesting, she said. Interesting. Yes, interesting. Now, I don't know if you've ever been in this situation where you're out somewhere and you get into a conversation with a stranger who seems to have had a revelation about you. Like God has given them some big clue about what you're supposed to do or why you are the way you are. Well, the part of me that believes in astrology, like the stars can tell me what I need, or the part that pulls out an oracle deck to give context on what to do next, that part of me believes that God speaks in mysterious ways. She's everywhere. So this old lady sitting there might just be an angel sent to me personally with a message from God. Now, I also had this thought. This lady got here before me. I still saw her have 2 glasses of wine and a martini, so she might be crazy, but it's worth a shot. So I said, lady, you can't say interesting and then just stop. If you figured out something about me, please tell me what you got. She looked at me close like she was sizing me up, took a deep breath like she was going to say something tough and said, well, son, you say you want to settle down, but for 6 years now you've been traveling around, so it's pretty obvious you're running from something. Oh shit, this is getting deep. That's what the bartender said who'd been eavesdropping. But I wasn't sure that I could agree. It felt more like a fortune cookie speaking generalities. Running from something. Running from what? I've been following breadcrumbs. I've been living with trust. Every time God asks me for something, I feel like I show up. So if I was running from something, don't you think I'd know what? I don't know where I'm going, but I don't need to. So what? I'm not running, I'm flowing. This lady needs to shut up. At this point, this evil little succubus was paying her bill and getting ready to go. But on her way out, she stopped to let me know. I don't know what you're running from, son, but it's obvious you're running from something. And just like that, she was gone. And I was left alone with my thoughts, wondering if she was wrong or if she was right, and I'd been running all along. And so I sat with that question for hours, meditated about it, journaled about it, scoured every part of my mind, replayed time in hopes I might find that spot I could be blind. But then I stopped and noticed that I was caught in this loop of something I used to do. You see, I grew up with a repressed memory of childhood abuse, so my body felt off, and I always assumed there was something wrong with me, and I was always confused because even if I felt something strongly, I would still doubt it was true. But that's not how I want to be. I want to breathe with certainty. And certainly there's hurt in me, but that just means I'm a human being. And not any human being, one that got out of the dark and picked himself up and opened his heart back up to love and worked real hard to find his way back to trust. I didn't get this far because I'm running. It's because I never gave up. And I never will. Because if I was running, it's not from something, it's towards something I feel. It's this feeling I have in the depth of my heart. I don't know what it is, but I know it's not far. I can't describe it to you, but it's as true as you are. It's the reason I'm here, why I came from the stars. It's the thing that gives hope when everything falls apart. It's in every poem I wrote. It's the core of my art. Like God left me a note I can't read in the dark. It's a feeling of home I have known from the start. It's this feeling of home that I hold in my heart. I just haven't found it yet, but I feel it. And it feels so safe and so warm and nourishing and soft. And so I keep running towards it because I'm afraid if I stop that I will never find it. And it's not a person or a place, it's all of it combined. It's a feeling more than anything, even if I cannot describe it. But when I ask God how I get there, he's awfully quiet. But I trust this feeling as my compass because God must have designed it. And please, save me the lectures and the New Age perspective on how home's already inside me. And if I keep searching outside myself, it'll always keep hiding. I've read the books too. I know what they say, and I don't know how to convey that in some way this is different. This is not what that is. This is a glitch in the matrix where I already feel my kids like I'm moving backwards in time and they've already lived. It's such a strange experience trying to describe what it's like, as if I drift through a wormhole each night, go to bed all alone, but I sleep next to my wife, so when I don't wake up in our home, something doesn't feel right. I feel her. I feel us, I feel them. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. But is it possible to feel a lifetime that only begins when this lifetime ends? Like that movie I saw, is this real or pretend? Is the outcome already written, or does the ending depend on the actions I take? Is this free will or is it fate? If I'm creating reality, can I make a mistake? Can I take a wrong turn, wind up in the wrong place? And if I'm following her, does that make this a chase? And if I can run out of time, does that make this a race? I know Father Time's undefeated and I can't beat his pace, but if the love of my life is the prize for first place, then I'll never stop running, even if I'm running in place. Because she's not here yet. You're not here yet. And so there's still some steps I must take. And whether it's luck or God's grace, if a step's all it takes, then I will put one step in front of the other until I stand at your gates. And the smile on your face will let me know it's okay to finally stop running because I finally found your embrace. And you'll tell me to rest because I'm finally safe. You'll say, take off your shoes. I actually want you to stay. And it'll be true why I was never running away. I was always running to you. It's why I'm still running today. I need to keep track of time. I'm a talker. How many of you feel most connected after that third version? Yeah. How many of you feel more connected to yourself and your own journey after that one? Okay. So what actually happened? There's facts, there's feelings, and then there's fuck it. And the fuck it for me means that I'm pouring the unique essence of who I am into the container that's been created from the first two. And what those are masculine and feminine energetics. Yin and yang energetics, alpha, omega energetics, whatever words resonate for you, the polarity of energetics that have birthed all of creation. And there's an interesting thing when we talk about the duality of reality, when we talk about polarity, when we talk about all of that, there's this, what I think is this misconception, or maybe it's an intentional distortion, depending on if you believe, in Illuminati, reptilians, and all of that. But for me, that polarity gives birth to something else. The masculine and feminine coming together, the yin and yang coming together, births something else. Magic. That layer of magic where beyond our wildest dreams, beyond our comprehension, something else just birthed. And that is all of this. We live in the expression of harmony of these two energetics. Bless you. I'm going to say that one more time. We are living and experiencing the expression of these two energetics. The magic of what is possible when that happens. And when we learn to harmonize these energetics within ourselves and dance with the design of it, the divine design, when that happens, we unlock magic in ourselves for the path of what it is we are here to create, and then magic for everyone who experiences that expression. And so I have had this opportunity over the years to experience some pretty crazy shit that people say is a miracle. I had a podcast with a woman who had been paid $1 million for coaching. She turned it into a brand. She was known as the $1 Million Mentor. She's a friend of mine. Her name's Marcy Locke. And I had her on my podcast, and I said, by the way, I have a podcast called The Creative Path. Check it out. I had her on my podcast, and I sat across from her, and I said, I have no freaking clue how you could possibly tell someone with a straight face it's $1 million to coach with you. How many people would feel uncomfortable telling someone it's $1 million? Yeah? And I said, I can't do it. My body contracts. And then she left my house, and I said, why the hell don't I feel worth that? There's no rules. Why don't I feel worth that? In less than 12 months, I was paid $1 million for a one-on-one coaching contract for 1 year. And it was miraculous. It came in a crazy way where I saw it in ceremony, and 5 days later, I had $1 million transferred me in one lump sum. And people said, that's a miracle. And I had another experience where I sat in the front row of this event. Shout out to Kyle Cease. For anyone who knows Kyle Cease, I was at one of his live events, 1,500 people there. And I sat in the second row, and I looked back, and everyone's looking this way, and I just closed my eyes, and I went, I could hold this audience. I could do that. The next morning, he randomly pulls me on stage, and I deliver a poem called You Are Who You've Been Looking For that gets a standing ovation. And it's not my event. It's not my camera crew. They send me the recording. I post it on my channel. It gets 500,000 views. I think that's amazing. I have like 3,000 followers. That was amazing. Someone else called Goalcast finds that poem, does their own version of it, puts it out online, and it is now the most viral poetry performance in history. It's been viewed over 250 million times. And again, people said, that's a miracle. You have such good luck. One of my friends said, you're ordained. And I'm gonna tell you one more, because I really want to land this, because I got a call 2 weeks ago from several people who called me up and said, hey, we saw what you did when you got the $1 million. We saw what you've been investing into. My journey is my own creative expression, but empowering people into their own creative expression, empowering artists by understanding the mechanics of what creativity actually is, which is what we're going to get into in just a moment. And why it's important, why it holds the keys, the codes. We're at Medicine Fest, the codes that you got to download from this transmission. And so I get this call, and they say, we saw all this, and we have a fund that has $200 million in it. And part of what we want to do is have a portion of it that's dedicated to really empowering artists. So we would like to actually give you $15 million to do that. The only caveat is you need to spend somewhere between 7 and 12 million of that on an actual physical location and land that you would live on. Woo! Now, I'm not getting ahead of myself. The money's on the account. There's no contract signed. But I got that call 2 weeks ago. Again, a miracle. Good luck. I'm ordained. And what I really have taken the time to sit with over the years is that I either need to believe that there's something special about me, or that this is replicable to everyone. And it is my belief that each and every one of us is equal in our divinity. Each and every one of us has our own unique path, but there's nothing more or less special or granted to you than anyone else. The key is tapping into your unique dharmic frequency, because that is the magic. That is where we combine the masculine, the feminine, the yin, and the yang in a way that allows you to have a container to pour your unique essence into. And when you do that, you are living dharmically aligned. And when you do that, the universe gives you whatever you need to accomplish your dharma. You are now in harmony with the universal laws of creation. Now, what are those universal laws? How does it actually work? I'd like to share that in a poem. Fuck it. This poem is called Us. Nice deep inhale. Exhale. You asked, how can I know you love me? How can I trust in us? I said, don't you worry, my dear, I will give you the heavens above. I tried to give you the moon, but you said it was not bright enough. So I tried to give you the sun, but you said it was too hot to touch. So I searched and searched for something that could keep you warm at night, that could help you find your way, that could be your guiding light. The stars, too small, but I tried to collect them all. I moved mountains to ease your path. I put a ring of Saturn on each of your fingers, which was no easy task. Picked out every piece of salt so the whole ocean could be your bath. Spent all day sweeping clouds away so it wouldn't rain unless you asked. Caught lightning in a bottle. Learned how to speak into the wind, hoping each time I said I love you, you might finally breathe it in. But it seemed like no matter what I did, something never was quite right. The fire kept on burning out, and with it went the light. And so tired, worn, and weary, I finally gave up, came to you, asked for a clue. Why was none of it enough? You smiled sadly at me then, kissed my cheek a gentle touch. Said, my dear, I can see you've tried so hard. You've given me so much. But you never needed to do those things. I never asked for any of them. It was you who pulled down Saturn's rings and cleaned out all the ocean. All I wanted was some warmth, to know I'm safe when times get hard, a light to help me find my way back home when times get dark. And so while the moon was too dim and the sun too hot, you've had the answer from the start. Deep within what can't be bought, what I wanted was your heart. And on that day, I learned a lesson that I hope I can pass to you. So the next time you're asked that question, how do I know our love is true? You'll know that the answer's in all the little things you do. It's the way you listen to her breathe when she falls asleep at night. How you never make her wrong even when she isn't right. How you never shy away from her eyes when they're full of rage. She feels safe to scream until she cries because you're there to wipe her tears away. It's the way you rest your hand so gently around her hips, so other women can clearly see he's proud that she is his. There's a warmth in feeling claimed. She knows you won't give up without a fight. That's how she knows she can trust your love. That's how your heart becomes her light. I really earned that poem through a breakup, where I had spent so much energy trying to prove my love. Acts of service is my primary love language, so I just was trying to do and do and do and prove and prove and prove. And in the doing, there's not really any space for listening. It's a yang energy, and there's no yin. And so I didn't actually create the space to listen and hear and observe what was actually needed. And that led into a really deep inquiry after that ended of trying to understand this balance of these energetics, right? Because they are the energies that create everything. And that led me down this path of starting to understand this dance, this divine design of masculine and feminine yin-yang polarities, which I'd love to share. How many of you would like to hear that? Yeah? Cool. Maybe the guy who laughed at the poem? I like it. Love it. It's like, oh, he gets it. So, the feminine. Women have a womb, which means you have a portal between life and death, the place that souls come from, which means you are connected to the void in a way that a man doesn't really ever understand. The void beyond time and linearity, the chaos of everythingness, where everything is possible. And as a result of being able to feel into that infinite space, the feminine always wants more. Always is aware that there is more available. Yes? Really? Yes? Okay. And so, the feminine, when expressing what that desire might be, activates the masculine, because the divine design of the masculine is to penetrate and fill whatever hole, void that the feminine can provide. Literally, figuratively, just give the masculine some space and we want to fill it. And so there is this initial instinct as a man that I feel, and pretty much every man that I know of, when a woman that we care for, that we love, says, I want this, the first instinct is, I want to provide that. Men, is this true for you? Yes. Women, despite how it might seem, it is the initial, it's like the initial instinct. And so there's this initial instinct to actually provide that. But in order to provide that, because it's not there yet, it means I must expand in order to be a match to be able to give. Make sense? And expansion, the only way out is through. We must go through our current limitations, the edges of our consciousness, to become more. The edges of our consciousness are our fears, doubts, limiting beliefs, insecurities. That's what holds us in that. Because if you had none of them, you would be back in oneness. And so the masculine must go through our deepest fears and the edges of our consciousness to become more in order to provide the thing. And we will go through the deepest karmic wound of the masculine, which is that we are not enough. We all have both energies in us, so we all have both of this. But for men, we are not enough. That fear that no matter how hard I try, no matter how much effort I put in, that I will not actually be able to live up to it, that I will not be able to give it to you, that I will fail, that I will fall, and that you will remove your love and abandon me for that. And then I must move through that fear. Move through that in order to become more. And once I become more and I come in and I provide that to you, the feminine, the yin energy feels met, feels held, feels enveloped in what has been asked for. And in that, the yin, and that translation is the nervous system relaxes. And in that relaxation, there's an expansion. And in that expansion, the feminine becomes aware of more. Suddenly, there's more available. More intimacy. More adventure. more chemistry, more polarity, more abundance. And that more is the oracle. It's why the feminine has been the oracle throughout time. The ability to connect to the realm of possibility, the infinite possibility that is available. But in order to voice your oracle, that expansion requires you to move through your deepest karmic wound that you are too much. The fear. I'm gonna take that as agreement sounds. The fear that if you let all of your desires, all of your feelings, all of you be seen, be heard, be expressed, that you will be rejected for it. And so there's a moving through that you must do in order to give voice to the more that is now available in your consciousness. And in doing that, you will trigger the deepest karmic wound of the masculine, and once again, this dance happens. And why this is so important to understand is because this is how we are able to dance with the actual energies of creation. Infinite creation is creating life through this. And when we can tap into that and work with it, suddenly we unlock the realm of magic. And we understand how to communicate through these needs and these desires. So women, when you are voicing the more that you are currently not experiencing that you want, you get to understand that it will trigger the deepest karmic wounds. And the reason why it's the deepest karmic wounds is because these are the actual energies of creation, which means that every wound, everything sits within the parameters of this. Nothing can be outside of those parameters in this reality. And so your deepest shadow, deepest trauma, deepest wound has to be able to be accessed by this design. Make sense? And so when you bring your request, you understand, wow, this might trigger that deep wound. How do I deliver it in a way of understanding that? How do I understand that really there's a little boy in there afraid he might fail? How do I love him during the journey of that? And men, we get to understand, wow, her even bringing that, despite the trigger that I feel, her bringing that is her expansion. And I will shut her down because I will trigger her deep wound of being too much if I receive this poorly. And we are able to support each other in this. And this is happening inside each and every one of us. Inside of you is a yin, feminine energy that knows there is more available to you. And yet somewhere along the way, we tell ourselves it's selfish. We tell ourselves it's greedy. The number of people I talk to, I lead a program called the Artistic Entrepreneur. It's an incubator program for entrepreneurs. And the number of people, when I say, what's your money goal? Get contracted. No, I don't know. I just want to be able to deliver my message. And deep down, they want to make more. How many of you want to make more money? Amazing. And how many of you get uncomfortable sometimes if you have to put a number and say, this is how much when you're telling someone how much you have to, yeah. And that is the equivalent of the feminine coming to you and you saying, you're too much. It shuts down that flow of potential inside of yourself. And then when we can actually own our desires, we get to understand there's a part of us, there's a yang energy, there's a masculine energy that will get triggered into thinking that we are not enough to accomplish it. And so many people think that that feeling of not being enough to actually do it is reason not to do it, without understanding that the masculine energy expands through action, through doing. It is in the doing that you become the match to the thing that you want. And so the feeling that you're not enough to do it is actually the design. It's the moment that you see, here's the opportunity for me to move through the edges and limitations of my consciousness to become more, because I must become more to hold more energetically, which is what you are actually asking for in your business, in your relationships, and in your life. This does not mean that you cannot be entirely content and entirely happy and live in a state of joy and play and pleasure and gratitude for what you have now. Don't confuse those two things. And this dance inside of us, when we understand it, suddenly creates a lens through which we can build our relationships and our businesses in a really powerful way. For me, there are 3 pillars that you need for a happy life. You need great relationships, aligned business, and soulful creativity. Relationship to self, relationship to other, and relationship to the collective, to your place here. Need to be healthy, happy, feel fulfilling. And then aligned business. It's really hard to love your life if you make money doing something you hate to do. Believe me, I never thought I would ever be someone that coaches people around business in any way, shape, or form. But then I just kept talking to people and realizing that it doesn't matter the amount of meditation, personal development, whatever, if every day you wake up and you go do something you don't want to do in order to get life force energy, which is what money is really representing, right? The ability, shelter, food, etc. It represents this life force. You are trading your life force in a way that is misaligned and being given more life force energy for something misaligned. It is incredibly difficult for you to find harmony with your dharma if that's the case. And then lastly, creativity, creative expression. Creativity is really interesting because you can have a container for creativity, right? You can say, I'm gonna write a poem, I'm gonna dance to this song, I'm gonna paint this painting. And so there's a container with which you can approach it, but creativity is also a path. Creativity is a path by which you actually get to bring the unique essence of you into the relationships and the business as you build those pillars. And I'm going to get into that in just one moment, but first I want to address a major misconception that a lot of people have, because the feminine and masculine yin yang inside of us also is represented by our inner artist and our inner entrepreneur that can often have this conflict. Anyone feel a conflict at times between their artist and their entrepreneur? Yeah. And there's one major misconception about this, which is that the artist needs freedom. The idea is that being an artist is about the freedom, and that the entrepreneurship about, I gotta cater to the algorithm. My reel has to be 90 seconds. And I need that F word, a funnel. And I just need these things, but it's just like such a constraint to my artistry. I'm here to just express truth. I don't write captions, I make art. But the truth is that artists need limitations. Every painter needs a size canvas. The musician has a certain amount of notes or a certain amount of frets on a guitar. the limitations are the very thing that give you the container to pour your creative energy into. Imagine what would happen to a painter that all he did was just get pissed off because there's a canvas. Can't believe this canvas is 6x9. So when we understand that the container is necessary in order for us to pour into, suddenly we unlock something. Entrepreneurship, the masculine provides that container. So there's a path. I'm not going to get into it today, but there's actually a very clear path of steps. There's a what that you can do. You know most of them. For those of you, how many of you are entrepreneurs? You have your own business, some type of offering? Okay, amazing. Like, you know what you have to do. You have to put out content, to make people aware of what you're selling, make offers, have sales calls, have a landing page, build connection with you know that. But the what is not really the magic. If it was just about a checklist, everyone in here would be a millionaire. Just do the checklist. But the what is the masculine, provides a container. The why is the feminine that gives you the reason. Why are you doing this? What is that more that you feel that is driving you? If your why is not strong enough, you will not get through those hard days. When you want to quit, when you want to give up, when you want to throw in the towel, when nothing seems to be working. That feminine pull of the more that you can feel is the magnetism that will pull you through those difficult days. But when you combine that why into a container of what, you create the conditions for how, the fuck it, where you can bring the unique essence of you. The unique essence of you, and this is where creativity comes in as that third pillar, as a path. Your creative energy is the purest expression of your soul. It is the thing that is uniquely you. It is your life force energy. There is a life force that is making all of this work. It is something that is growing the grass. It's the thing that beats your heart, breathes your lungs, has the flowers bloom. There is a life force that moves through you, and it expresses itself in one of two ways: creatively and sexually. They're actually the same, but in this society, we just separate them for context. When we get a rush of life force energy, when we see someone that we're attracted to, we call it being turned on. But if it's not attached to a person that we're attracted to, and we just get that rush of life force for a place or a thing, we call it being inspired. It's the same energy. It is your life force, and it is uniquely yours. It has never come onto this planet the way it comes through you and expresses itself through you, which means that you are here to express it. Just like what's that saying where never judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree?
Anyone can be a genius.
Absolutely.
Don't judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree.
Beautiful. It's a longer saying than I thought. And so, you are here to be you. The worker ant isn't the soldier ant or trying to be the queen. And the bees don't have arguments about what they're supposed to do. And the fish doesn't lament the fact that it can't climb the tree. It drops into what it is dharmically here to do. And yet, in society as humans, there's so much conditioning that we are indoctrinated with from a very, very early age, and we see all the time in our media and on our social media, on billboards, on magazines, of who we're supposed to be, of what we're supposed to do, of what happiness actually means. And what that does is cause so many people to step off of their unique frequency to try and be something that they think they're supposed to be. And that puts them out of the universal law of energetics for them. I have a very deep belief that if we snapped our fingers and every single person on this planet started living their dharmic alignment, everything would figure itself out. Nature is perfect. If every person was living that alignment, it would all work itself out. There are people who love to clean. There are people who love to teach. There are people who love to make words rhyme. There are things that you love to do. And so we talk about healing frequencies. How many of you know what cymatics are? Familiar with cymatics? For those of you who don't know, you may have seen it. Cymatics, when they put the sand on the vibrational plate and they turn it and then it turns into sacred geometry and different things like that. Everyone knows sacred geometry, right? We're at a medicine festival. Interesting thing about sacred geometry, right? It's not just the like proof that you've been to Bali. It's actually right? This is my visa that said I could get to go to Bali. So the sacred geometry is circles and lines. So inside of just circles, the feminine, the possibility, when you just connect with lines, you add masculine energy, you are now able to form the plutonic solids. The plutonic solids create the fundamental building blocks of everything that we see in existence. Circles and lines. Zeros and ones, binary code, inhale, exhale. Your iPhone, your computer, we interface with the visuals, right? We're interfacing with the feelings and what we see. That's the iOS. Underneath that is zeros and ones. Both are true. The same is actually happening in this reality right now. You are interfacing with the realm of emotion and feeling. Underneath this is an algorithm. Zeros and ones. Masculine, feminine, we start there. And we have the container of space-time. That is the container by which that pours into. The limitation that allows infinite creation to be birthed. And so when you start to understand the coding that I'm sharing with you at a really high level. Are you guys following me at least? Okay. When you start to understand that, you are now able to code your reality, not just deal with the iOS. You're like the dude in the Matrix who's reading the zeros and ones on the screen. He's like, oh shit, Neil's getting his ass kicked. And he can like tell what's happening from zeros and ones. You become that. And the moment you can start to recognize the root level energetics that are at play from your reality, the reality becomes magic. And that is inside of sacred geometry, the zeros and ones. And the expression means that you feel the more, you give yourself a container, and then you pour in your life force energy, your unique creative essence. And then you step into the process of what happens when you access creative energy, which is creativity. And creativity is the process of putting together patterns that you've never put together before. That's it. Creativity is the process of putting together patterns that you've never put together before. Musicians are putting together patterns of sounds they've never put together before. Painters, patterns of symbols and colors they've never put together before. Poets, combinations of words that I've never put together before. Guess what? That is synonymous to the expansion of consciousness. That is personal development. All of this stuff that we're doing, you know, the cacao ceremonies. I love Bali. The ayahuasca ceremonies, the throwing up in buckets, all of it. The holes were burning in our arms. You guys know what I'm talking about. Like all of that. We're doing it. And what is it doing? It's giving us new data points, changing our perspectives so that we can put together new patterns. Every major aha expansion of consciousness in your life happened because suddenly you saw a pattern that you didn't see before. And that is your consciousness. Your consciousness, in a very unromantic sort of way, is the sum total of all the patterns that you are able to recognize. If we're in that oneness space, literally all of this, the algorithm, remember, it has to be an algorithm because we are in space-time. So there's a linearity, which means there's 1 second to the next, which means it has to be algorithmic. So if you could see the algorithm, this all makes sense. Just like the 5-year-old may not understand the equation of trigonometry, but it doesn't mean there isn't one. So the sum total of the patterns that you can recognize is your consciousness. You assign meaning to those patterns, but that sum total, as you expand consciousness, that expansion means you see more patterns. That is the process of creativity. That is a creative process. That is you creating you. And that is a skill that you can get better at. If there's one thing that I want you to leave with today, it is that the process of creativity, which we've gone through, feminine, masculine, like you're seeing how this all bridges together, right? It's making sense? You give yourself the container, you have the why that drives it, and then the how is the creativity. Well, creativity is a skill that you can get better at. And when you get better at the process of putting together new patterns, you get better at the process of expanding your consciousness. And when you get better at the process of expanding your consciousness, you have just exponentially increased what is possible for you. Because the edges of your manifestation are the edges of your imagination. Any dream that you have it because your unconscious has figured out that it's possible for you. You need to figure out how to get there consciously and become more along the way. But it is possible for you. And creativity is not just a thing you do as a hobby. It's not just something you do for fun. It is the key to unlock everything that you want. It is the expression of the zeros and ones. It is the way in which you are actually able to fall in love with your life. And so I would like to close with one final poem. Is that okay? Yeah. I'm a self-conscious artist. I just need some love. Yeah. This hat is a cry for help. This dance of the masculine feminine is the ability it has to bring up our deep karmic wounds, the ability it has to give us the actual fertile soil for us to birth our dreams, the prosperous life that is uniquely yours. This is the equation by which you are able to birth a life that you love. And that, if you want, how many of you want to make an impact on this planet? How many of you would love to say you left and you made an impact? This poem is for you. This piece is called Heaven. Nice deep inhale. Exhale. The most impactful thing you can do for the world is learn how to love life. all of life. Show people that being happy doesn't mean turning a blind eye to the pain and the sadness and the suffering that happens here. Show them that choosing love doesn't mean ignoring fear. It just means being willing to feel. And those brave souls will always heal as long as they maintain the courage to feel. Because the fear of feeling is really at the root of every fear, which creates a fear of living because feeling's why we're here. So you can fight the fact that feelings past have felt so freaking hard, but it's the very fact you have felt all that that feels like the part we should celebrate. Investigate. Learn to navigate with ease. Your emotions are the gift God gives you every time you breathe. Energy in motion with the strength to bring a king down to his knees and yet contained within emotion is the key to set you free. Yes, contained within emotion is the gift of what being human is. A chance to feel all of life from deep sorrow to deep bliss. And you might wish the two would split, but the twist is that they'll always coexist because even the heartbreak you hate today had the way paved by a lover's kiss. So you can write your list of how life's a bitch, but don't forget the asterisk because for all the times you went through shit, it fertilized a lot of gifts. But if you only focus on what you lack, you can't appreciate what you've got. But with gratitude for what we have, we can see that it's a lot. And that is the difference between abundance and scarcity. It's not about what you have, it's about what you see. So the next time you forget how blessed you be, take a moment and focus on the next breath you breathe. The next time you forget how blessed you be, take a moment and focus on the next breath you breathe. And notice you're right here with me. A miracle, a great mystery. Out of hundreds of trillions of stars in hundreds of billions of galaxies, somehow, some way, you're here today with me and we all breathe on a spinning sphere of chemicals spiraling through the universe. You were once one of 200 million sperm, you just happened to get there first. So how could you ever say you're cursed? You've been blessed since before your birth, and you might not think you have it best, but it could definitely be worse. And if you don't believe that yet, go tell the deaf what you just heard. If you don't like what you see, go tell the blind how much it hurts. On your hardest day, when you really want to walk away, go tell the paraplegic how it's unfair. Share how you want to run from all your problems while he's pushed everywhere in a chair. And I'm not saying that life is fair or that it's easy. We all go through a lot. But as you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, don't lose gratitude for the fact that you walk. Celebrate the fact that you can dance and sing. Embrace the abundance in the very act when you talk. Because when you can spot abundance in the simplest things, that's when more abundance unlocks. The simplest things. Taste, touch, breath, smell. Did you know there are people with something called anosmia, which means their sense of smell is completely lost? So while they literally can't smell the roses, do you want to complain you don't have the time to stop? Because this life is the only one that you've got, and there are people who would trade places with you without a second thought. So no matter how many tears, heartbreaks, or bad days you pay, the cemetery is full of souls that know living is worth the cost. Don't wait till it's too late to learn that lesson. Living is worth the cost. But make no mistake, being alive is not the same thing as living. Just like throwing something away is not the same thing as giving. So if you haven't yet found your love of life, I suggest you keep on digging and allow yourself to feel your way through all the hurt and all the rage. And as you feel, allow yourself to finally turn the page. That's how we heal. And it might hurt like hell, but you'll have shown us we'll be okay to feel it all and still love life. That's heaven. And you'll have helped pave the way. That's heaven. Can you feel it? Heaven is here today. Thank you so much for coming. Wow, thank you so much. Oh, my inner child. Thank you.